Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
Far out in the quiet edges of space, beyond the sweep of planets and the whispering arcs of comets, a stranger has entered the sun's domain. It carries with it the silence of deep interstellar night, the kind of silence that is older than our world and deeper than any ocean. Astronomers have given it a name, 3I Atlas, marking it as the third known wanderer to drift into our skies from another star. But names, though useful, can never capture the fullness of what it means to witness a traveler that comes from beyond the solar system, a fragment of another place, a shard of some distant cosmic tale. When scientists at the Atlas observatories in Hawaii noticed its faint streak across their cameras in February of 2025, they recognized almost immediately that it was not like the ordinary asteroids that pass nearby. Its path was not closed, not curved back into an ellipse that would keep it bound to the sun. Instead, its trajectory was hyperbolic, like a shallow arc across infinity, a path that comes in once and leaves forever. Only an interstellar object could move in this way. Only something from outside our celestial family could slip in at such a speed and angle, whispering past, and then vanishing back into the dark. Imagine the journey it has taken. For millions, perhaps billions of years, it may have drifted between the stars, untouched by light, stirred only by the faint push of starlight or the grazing pull of unseen planets. In the immense distances between suns, where there is nothing but thin winds of atoms and occasional sparks of radiation, 3I Atlas traveled in unbroken quiet. It carried with it the coldness of that place, the memory of another system's birth, perhaps fragments of ice, rock, and dust shaped by a star we will never see. It is a relic of a story not our own, but for a brief moment it passes through ours. The scientists looked closer, measuring its brightness, watching how the sunlight played across its surface. What was it made of? Did it gleam with the icy tail of a comet like 2I/Borisov once did, glowing faintly as gases sublimated into a tail? Or would it be elusive and mysterious like 1I/Oumuamua, which gave off no clear tail but flickered strangely as if it were shaped like a shard or a sheet of rock? 3I Atlas seemed somewhere in between, not quite comet, not quite asteroid, but something new, something that resists neat categories. That uncertainty, that refusal to be easily known, makes it all the more enchanting. Now imagine yourself standing outside on a calm night, when the sky is dark enough for stars to bloom like scattered seeds across the black. Somewhere among those countless lights, hidden in the dimness, 3I Atlas was slipping silently across our solar system. To the naked eye, it would appear only as a faint dot, indistinguishable from the others. But with patient telescopes and careful observation, its true motion was revealed. A visitor in transit, a messenger carrying the weight of interstellar distances. There is something humbling in knowing that our solar system is not a closed box. It breathes in its own way through encounters like this. Sometimes, rare as they are, it receives visitors from other systems, tiny pieces of matter ejected long ago from the birth throes of another star, wandering endlessly until gravity nudges them toward us. And sometimes it gives away its own fragments, comets disturbed from their icy nests, flung outward by Jupiter or Neptune, never to return. In this exchange, the stars share their debris, their memories, and their secrets. Scientists estimate that objects like 3I Atlas may be far more common than we realize, scattered like invisible threads across the galaxy. They are simply too small and faint for us to notice most of the time. But when one passes close enough, when its trajectory crosses our telescope's gaze, we get a glimpse of that hidden traffic, a reminder that space is not empty but alive with wanderers. Each one is a time capsule, carrying ancient matter across unthinkable distances. To think of 3I Atlas is to imagine the home it once had. Perhaps it was born in a disk of dust and ice swirling around a newborn star, much like our own sun billions of years ago. Within that disk, countless fragments collided and grew, some becoming planets, others cast aside as leftovers. In the dance of gravity, one fragment was thrown outward, away from its star, into the deep currents of interstellar space. That fragment is what we see now, streaking faintly past our skies, carrying the fingerprints of a place we cannot visit. Its speed is a kind of poetry. To break free of its own system, it must have been hurled with a force strong enough to escape a star's pull. It traveled so far for so long that when it entered our solar system, its velocity betrayed its origin. It came not as a captive, but as a traveler on its own path. No matter how closely we measure it, no matter how carefully we watch, it will never stay. It is passing through, and then it will be gone, leaving only data, only memories, only the hush of wonder it stirred in us. Astronomers sometimes say that interstellar objects are like letters lost in the mail of the galaxy. They are fragments of messages from other worlds, but the ink is smudged, the paper weathered, and the words incomplete. We can hold them briefly, examine them, and guess at their origins, but the full story is always out of reach. 3I Atlas, like its predecessors, is both a gift and a riddle. It brings us close to other stars in the only way matter can travel across such gulfs, slowly, silently, drifting until chance brings it into view. For you listening to this story, the presence of 3I Atlas can feel like a lullaby of cosmic scale. It is not urgent, not dangerous, not loud. It is a soft visitor crossing vastness with no intention but to drift. Its path reminds us of the continuity of the galaxy, of the endless circulation of matter, of the way time itself can stretch across billions of years. You can almost feel the stillness it carries, the cold hush of interstellar night woven into its surface. That stillness seeps into us, too, calming our restless thoughts, reminding us of the enormity of space and the smallness of our concerns. Let your imagination drift with it now. Picture 3I Atlas gliding through the outer reaches of the solar system, far beyond the orbit of Saturn, the faint pull of the sun curving its path ever so slightly. Imagine how, from its perspective, our planets are only dots, bright specks circling a star that is, itself, just another light in the sky. To 3I Atlas, the sun is not the center of everything. It is simply one more beacon among countless others, another flicker in the tapestry of the galaxy. This is the gift of such an object. It shifts our perspective. For a moment, we are not bound to our familiar orbits, not trapped in the rhythm of Earth and Moon and Sun. Instead, we are reminded that we are part of something larger, something that spans across interstellar space. We are not alone in being made of stardust. Every system, every star, every fragment shares in this grand circulation. 3I Atlas is evidence of that, a traveler who proves that matter does not stay still, that even across light years, the galaxy exchanges its pieces. And as the astronomers track it, measuring its arc, predicting its departure, there is a bittersweet awareness that soon it will be gone. In a few months or years, depending on its speed and path, it will slip back into the blackness, growing fainter until no telescope can see it. Its visit is brief, but its memory will last. The data we collect will remain, the papers will be written, the stories told. And beyond the science, the quiet awe it leaves behind will echo softly, like a note carried on cosmic wind. So we rest with the thought of 3I Atlas, the third of its kind that humanity has ever known, a rare and fleeting encounter with the vast beyond. It carries with it the voices of other suns, the dust of other skies, the memory of a place we cannot touch. And as it passes, it leaves us with a gentle reminder. The universe is wider than our dreams, and yet sometimes the dreams drift close enough for us to see. Drift a little deeper now into the quiet heart of this journey. 3I Atlas is more than a moving point of light on a telescope screen. It is a thread woven into the larger fabric of cosmic exchange. When astronomers studied its hyperbolic path, they saw not just a calculation of orbit, but a signature of exile. Every hyperbola traced across the stars is a record of something pushed away, something cast out by the restless birth of worlds. 3I Atlas is one such exile. carrying the history of a system that is not ours, but whose echoes reach us in this small stone crossing our sky. To understand its story, one must remember how stars are born. Clouds of gas collapse under gravity, spinning and flattening into disks of dust and gas. Within those disks, new planets gather, colliding, merging, accreting into shapes that will become homes for oceans, mountains, and atmospheres. But not every fragment finds a home. Some are thrown aside by larger neighbors, flung outward by the gravity of giant planets, pushed beyond the hold of their parent star. They do not return. They become wanderers, drifting into the interstellar dark. 3I Atlas may be one of these, an ancient sibling of planets, set adrift in an ocean too vast for memory. The journey between stars is slow and immeasurable. No engine propels such a traveler, no hand guides its path. Instead, it moves as if asleep, rocked only by the faint currents of starlight and the rare encounters with dust. For eons, it may have drifted in perfect cold, no surface warming, no light glancing across its body. Time for it is not measured in centuries or millennia, but in millions and billions of years. When we see it now, we catch only a moment in its vast slumber, a heartbeat. In an otherwise eternal drift. Astronomers compare 3I Atlas to its predecessors, as if placing them on a shelf of rare and fragile relics. 1I/Oumuamua, discovered in 2017, tumbled strangely as it passed, reflecting sunlight in irregular flashes, hinting at a form elongated and unfamiliar. It bore no tail of ice, leaving us to wonder what it was. Some called it an asteroid, others a comet, and some allowed themselves to wonder if it was something else entirely, though no evidence supported such dreams. Then came 2I/Borisov in 2019, undeniably cometary, shedding gases and dust like a messenger from icy realms. And now 3I Atlas, a third letter carried by galactic winds, whispering to us that interstellar objects may be many, though only a few brush past our awareness. In the cold corridors of space, these objects carry with them the raw ingredients of life: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, silicates, and ices. Each fragment is built from the same matter that forms stars and worlds. To study them is to read an ancient script written across the galaxy, one that reveals how common or rare certain materials may be. If amino acids or complex molecules cling to their dust, then perhaps such building blocks are spread far and wide, shared generously among the stars. To know 3I Atlas is to glimpse whether the seeds of life itself are scattered through interstellar space, waiting for worlds to catch them. But scientific instruments can only do so much. Most of what we know comes from light itself, the way sunlight bounces off the object, the faint spectrum it reveals. In those lines of color, astronomers find traces of ices or minerals. They cannot touch it, cannot bring it back, cannot see it close. The object remains at a distance, half hidden in the blur of atmosphere and optics. And so it retains its mystery, keeping its full story veiled, offering only hints to those who reach for it with mathematics and patient nights under the stars. For you listening gently, imagine 3I Atlas not as data but as presence. A dark stone drifting across the velvet fabric of night, lit only faintly by a sun it has never known. You can picture its surface, cratered or jagged, smooth with ice or rough with rock. You can almost feel the chill it carries, the memory of its long, dark journey imprinted in every grain of dust. In that chill is a kind of comfort, a reminder that the universe is vast enough to hold endless stories, vast enough to cradle mysteries without urgency. There is another comfort in knowing that this visitor is harmless. Its path carries it past the planets, past Earth, without danger. It comes not as a threat, but as a whisper. Unlike asteroids bound to our sun, which sometimes cross orbits with our planet, interstellar objects are fleeting. Their speed carries them onward, preventing capture. They arrive, they are seen, they are studied, and then they leave. Their gift is not in their staying, but in the way they remind us of connection, that we are part of a galaxy alive with movement, exchange, and quiet encounters. And so astronomers watch closely, collecting data as long as they can. Telescopes around the world turn toward it, recording its brightness, noting its changes. Some observatories seek to measure the outgassing of ices if it has any, while others look for tumbling motions that reveal its shape. Each observation is a brushstroke on a canvas, together painting a picture that is still incomplete. Yet even in its incompleteness, there is beauty. The unknown itself is a kind of wonder, a gentle space where curiosity rests and dreams take form. Consider, too, the poetic symmetry of its naming. The 3I marks it as the third interstellar object recognized by humanity. Atlas honors the survey that found it, but also echoes the myth of the Titan who held the heavens upon his shoulders. How fitting that a visitor from beyond the sun carries the name of one who bore the weight of stars. It feels less like coincidence and more like a quiet metaphor, as if language itself leans toward poetry when we try to name such mysteries. Now let your thoughts drift outward. Beyond 3I Atlas, beyond our sun, the galaxy spins with hundreds of billions of stars. Around each star, disks once formed, planets gathered, fragments were cast aside. Every system has its own wanderers, its own exiles thrown into the dark. The space between stars is not empty but filled with these forgotten stones. Some may be like Atlas, icy and dark. Others may be like Borisov, trailing bright tails. And perhaps others are yet stranger, carrying chemistries we have never known, stories we cannot yet tell. In this way, the galaxy is like a vast river, carrying countless pebbles downstream, each one shaped by its origin, each one drifting without return. You can almost hear it if you listen closely, not a sound of course, for space is silent, but a rhythm, a pulse of exchange. Planets form, fragments scatter, objects drift, and sometimes, rarely, they pass near another star. Our solar system, in its quiet isolation, becomes briefly part of that rhythm, receiving a traveler like 3I Atlas. For those who watch the skies, it is like hearing a soft knock on the door of the cosmos, a reminder that beyond the dark, others exist. As 3I Atlas moves through its arc, nearing the sun and then curving away, the question arises, what will become of it? The answer is both simple and profound. It will continue. It will leave, as all interstellar visitors must, and its path will carry it outward again into the depths between stars. Perhaps it will pass near another system one day, though the distances are so vast that the chances are slim. More likely, it will wander forever, unseen, anonymous, carrying the memory of our sun as one more star in its long history. This is the tender truth of such visitors. They belong to no one. They are not ours to keep nor to claim, but only to notice, to admire, to study, and then to let go. In their leaving, they teach us about impermanence, about the beauty of brief encounters. They remind us that not everything in the universe is meant to stay, and that sometimes the most powerful stories are those that pass softly through our lives before fading into silence. And so, as you rest with the thought of 3I Atlas, let yourself feel its slowness, its patience, its endless drift. There is no hurry in its movement, no urgency in its passage. It has traveled for millions of years to appear now for only a moment before continuing its way. To witness it is to touch eternity in a fleeting glance, to sense the deep time of the cosmos flowing past you like a river, and in that flow there is peace. Now we arrive at the closing stretch of this gentle story, where the visitor drifts onward and we are left with its memory. 3I Atlas, having passed close enough to awaken our telescopes, begins to recede into the outer dark. Its brightness, once faint but measurable, grows fainter still. Day by day, the astronomers record diminishing light until it fades into the background of stars, indistinguishable from the countless points beyond. And yet, even in its vanishing, it continues to speak to us, carrying a lesson wrapped in silence, a gift carried not in what we see but in what we feel. Imagine the object now far past the orbit of the giant planets, gliding toward the edge of the sun's domain. Out here, the solar wind weakens, the sun's breath grows thin, and interstellar space beckons. Ahead lies the boundary where the influence of our star ends and the galaxy begins, an invisible threshold marked by the meeting of winds, solar particles flowing outward, galactic particles pressing inward. Through this gateway, Atlas will pass, unmarked and unhindered, slipping back into the quiet from which it came. For us, the encounter is ending. For the object, it is only continuation, one more step in an endless drift. There is a certain calm in recognizing how brief our chance was. A handful of weeks, perhaps months, when telescopes gathered data and scientists rushed to learn what they could, and then gone. But in that brevity lies the essence of wonder. If Atlas were always here, if we could study it endlessly, perhaps its mystery would thin. Instead, it passes swiftly, reminding us that beauty often comes clothed in transience. The fleeting star, the brief blossom, the short visit, each carries weight precisely because it does not last. Astronomers will write their reports. They will compare Atlas to its siblings, noting differences and similarities, piecing together a puzzle of what interstellar fragments might be. Papers will circulate, numbers and graphs will be drawn, models will be tested. But beneath all of that, there lingers a softer truth that cannot be graphed, the feeling of having shared the sky with something from another star. To know that as you walked on Earth, somewhere above, a stone from another world crossed silently overhead, that feeling rests outside data, belonging instead to the quiet chambers of awe. Think of the journey it carries onward. For millions of years ahead, perhaps billions, 3I Atlas will continue between suns. It will not age in the way living things do. It will not grow weary. It will simply persist, unchanging in its drift. Future civilizations, should they exist around distant stars, may one day notice it, just as we did. They may give it another name, wonder at its origin, measure its path. For them, too, it will be a brief visitor, arriving without explanation, leaving without farewell. And so Atlas becomes part of a cycle not bound to us but shared among stars, a traveler whose story touches many but belongs to none. There is a poetry in knowing that the galaxy itself keeps such travelers alive. Stars eject them, gravity flings them, and space holds them, carrying them forward through epochs unimaginable. Each one is both alone and connected, alone in its endless isolation, connected in the way it links stars together through its journey. In this, Atlas is not merely an object but a thread weaving systems into a single tapestry of movement. We may never trace that tapestry fully, but glimpsing one thread is enough to remind us it is there. For those who find peace in stillness, Atlas offers a kind of mirror. It is not in haste, not in conflict, not in noise. It drifts, patient and silent, across gulfs of emptiness that would terrify us if we tried to imagine living there. And yet the object bears it without strain, carrying only its existence as burden and gift. In its patience we find calm. In its silence we find reflection. If a fragment of stone can cross the galaxy without hurry, perhaps we too can carry our lives more gently, drifting through time without always seeking to rush. The name Atlas remains with us long after the object itself is gone. It is etched into our records, carved into the memory of discovery, spoken in classrooms, written in journals. Its physical form departs, but its story stays. Like a dream recalled in the morning, it lingers faintly, a soft echo that shapes our imagination. Perhaps children will hear of it and look at the stars differently, sensing that the night sky is not distant but alive with travelers. Perhaps those who never study astronomy will still feel wonder knowing that pieces of other worlds sometimes pass so close we can see them. And when you think of it, isn't that what makes the cosmos so soothing? It is not the noise of explosions or the drama of collisions, but the quiet continuity of motion. Stars form, planets circle, fragments wander. Each follows its course with patience. Nothing demands, nothing rushes, nothing insists. Atlas, in its simplicity, reminds us of this wider rhythm. We are part of it, not apart from it. Just as it drifts through the galaxy, so do we drift through our days, carrying fragments of memory, leaving traces for others, moving onward always. Now picture it one last time, small against the backdrop of infinite dark, shrinking from our view. The sun grows fainter behind it, the stars ahead no closer for all their brilliance. Atlas continues. Its surface, cold and shadowed, holds no awareness of the eyes that once studied it, the hearts that once marveled. And yet, in its indifferent drifting, it has given us something immeasurable, a reminder of scale, of time, of connection. It came without intention, but it leaves with meaning because we chose to see it, to wonder, to listen. So let this story close gently, not with an ending, but with a continuation. The object moves on, and so do we. It becomes part of our collective memory, part of the soft weave of tales that help us rest beneath the stars. Its passing is not loss, but gift, a moment of shared wonder between the galaxy and a small blue planet. And as you imagine it slipping farther into the night, let your thoughts grow still. The cosmos is wide and full of such wanderers. And though they pass swiftly, each carries with it the same gentle truth. We are not alone in the great drifting, for even the stars themselves share their fragments with us. Rest with that thought. Feel its calm weight as if the sky itself were placing a hand upon your shoulder. The visitor has gone, but its presence lingers, like a lullaby echoing long after the song has ended. Somewhere in the silence between stars, 3i Atlas continues its endless path. And here on Earth, you carry its story folded softly into your own. Between the stars, there is not emptiness, but a quiet sea of dust. Invisible to our eyes, these fine grains drift like mist across the galaxy, born from the deaths of stars and the shattering of ancient worlds. Each particle is impossibly small, lighter than a sigh, yet together they weave the faint fabric of interstellar space. When light from distant stars passes through them, it softens, reddens, and scatters, leaving behind whispers of its journey. To study this dust is to listen to the murmurs of creation, to hear the soft stories written across billions of years. The origins of interstellar dust lie in the great cycles of stellar life. When massive stars explode as supernovae, they scatter their elements outward, forming clouds of carbon, silicon, oxygen, and iron. In the cooler winds of aging stars, molecules condense and grains begin to form, fragile crystals born in the outer shells of suns. These grains are carried outward into space, where they mingle, drift, and sometimes collide. Over millions of years, they form diffuse clouds that stretch across light years, veiling and revealing the light of galaxies like gauze drawn across a lantern flame. Each fleck of dust is not just debris but heritage, a remnant of stellar life, carrying in its structure the fingerprints of the star that made it. When astronomers peer into these dusty clouds with radio and infrared telescopes, they see more than obscuration. They see nurseries, places where dust gathers and cools. Gas allowing new stars to form. The very grains that block our view of distant light become the scaffolding for new systems. Around newborn stars, disks of dust and gas swirl and flatten, eventually giving rise to planets, moons, comets, and asteroids. To trace the path of interstellar dust is to trace the genealogy of worlds, to understand that planets are not born from nothing, but from the recycled matter of ancient suns. And yet, despite their ubiquity, these grains are elusive. They measure less than a micrometer across, so small that millions could line a single fingertip. They cannot be captured easily, for they slip through instruments and vanish into the machinery of detection. Sometimes, however, Earth is lucky. The solar wind sweeps in fragments of this dust, carrying them into our skies. A few grains fall into the upper atmosphere, burning faintly, unseen except as part of the endless rain of meteoric dust. On rare occasions, spacecraft designed with delicate collectors have gathered some of these particles, catching whispers of matter from beyond our solar system. In their tiny structures, scientists find carbon chains, silicate minerals, sometimes even complex molecules that hint at the seeds of life. For you listening softly, imagine this dust not as science but as sensation. Picture a beam of sunlight entering a quiet room, revealing the motes drifting lazily in the air. Each one spins, shimmers, and disappears as it moves through light. Now magnify that image across the galaxy and you will see what astronomers mean when they speak of interstellar dust. It is not visible most of the time, but when starlight passes through it, the grains glow faintly, turning the blackness of space into a living veil. To think of the universe as filled with this drifting mist is to feel less alone, to imagine that even the empty spaces are full of presence. The paths of this dust are unknowable in detail. A grain may wander for millions of years, pushed by radiation, tugged by gravity, stirred by shockwaves from nearby stars. Some grains may spend their entire existence in interstellar space, never forming anything larger, content to drift endlessly. Others may be drawn into new systems, becoming part of disks where planets grow. A few may even fall into the atmospheres of living worlds, dissolving into oceans, perhaps one day playing a role in the chemistry of life. Each grain is a traveler with infinite patience, waiting for chance to give it purpose. Astronomers sometimes describe interstellar dust as the memory of the galaxy. It remembers explosions, the endings of stars, the violence of collisions. It remembers births, carrying forward the materials needed for new beginnings. Each particle is like a letter in an immense script, written and rewritten across cosmic time. We cannot read the entire script, but by studying fragments, we begin to understand the story. Stars are born, stars die, their dust becomes planets, and life emerges from their elements. Dust is not waste but continuity, the bridge between endings and beginnings. Consider, too, how fragile these grains are. A single photon, a particle of light, can push them. A faint shockwave from a distant star can scatter them across light years. They are at once delicate and enduring, subject to every force, yet lasting for ages. In their persistence lies a lesson. We too are fragile, buffeted by forces beyond our control. Yet like the grains we endure, carried forward by currents we cannot see, leaving traces in places we may never know. To reflect on interstellar dust is to see our own existence mirrored in the smallest of cosmic travelers. Now imagine the solar system itself as a ship moving through this dust. As it orbits the galaxy, the sun and its planets plow through interstellar clouds. Some regions are thick with grains, others nearly empty. Our magnetic field and solar wind shield us, sweeping much of the dust away, but some still enters, drifting inward toward the planets. In this way, Earth is not isolated. It is touched continuously and gently by matter from beyond. Even as we live our lives here, we are in quiet contact with the galaxy, bathed in the whispers of distant stars. And so the story of interstellar dust is not one of silence alone, but of connection. Dust links stars to planets, life to death, endings to beginnings. It flows in cycles far larger than we can imagine, but always with the same soft persistence. For astronomers, each grain studied is a clue. For dreamers, each grain imagined is a comfort. Together, they remind us that even the smallest fragments have meaning, and that even the vastness of space is not empty but alive with whispers. Let us drift deeper now into the gentle labyrinth of stardust and time. The grains that swirl between stars are not merely byproducts of stellar death. They are the carriers of ancient memory. In every shard of interstellar dust is an origin story, a supernova's dying BR. The outflow of a red giant, the condensation in a cold molecular cloud. These fragments, born of violence and fire, now float softly through space, quieted by the ages. They remember their birth not with sound, but with structure, with layers of carbon, flecks of silicate, tiny formations that speak of the pressures and temperatures from which they came. To examine them is to listen to the faint heartbeat of stars long gone. In laboratories on Earth, scientists examine the rare dust grains caught by spacecraft or filtered from the upper atmosphere. They place them under electron microscopes, run them through spectrometers, and marvel at their strange isotopic signatures, ratios of elements that do not match our solar system. These are the unmistakable fingerprints of distant origins. Some grains are older than the sun. They were formed before Earth was born, before the planets had names, before the solar wind ever blew. These ancient specks, preserved in meteorites or gathered gently by collectors in the sky, are called presolar grains. Each one is a fossil of a time and place the human eye has never seen. Presolar grains are incredibly rare. Only a tiny fraction of meteorite material contains them. Yet they reveal entire chapters of stellar history. A graphite sphere may come from a supernova. A tiny bit of silicon carbide might trace back to a red giant. Within them lie elements created in nuclear furnaces, atoms forged under the crushing weight of dying stars. And those atoms are now here in our hands, part of our science, part of our understanding. They bridge the unthinkable distance between the far past and the living present. Imagine for a moment that you could hold one of these grains in your palm. It would be invisible to the eye, smaller than a speck of dust floating in a sunbeam. But within it would be written the story of a star, its formation, its burning life, its collapse. You would be holding not just matter, but history. Not just substance, but silence, a silence that traveled across space to reach you. And in doing so, it would whisper something profound, that nothing in the universe truly vanishes. It only changes form, moving from light to dust to life. The connections go deeper still. Around young stars, disks of gas and dust gather like skirts of possibility. Interstellar grains mix with new materials, caught in the swirl of gravity and time. Collisions begin. Dust sticks to dust, growing into clumps, then into rocks, then into planetesimals. Over millions of years, planets emerge from this process, coalesce not from a single origin, but from a mingling of many. Earth itself is made of such dust, interstellar and local, ancient and new, brought together in a harmony of chaos. This means that the grains drifting now through space may one day become part of a world. A single particle carried on the wind between stars may someday join a ring around a planet, or fall into a growing moon, or sleep within the soil of a future Earth-like sphere. It may someday support the root of a tree, or rest within the shell of a creature, or dissolve into an ocean. Interstellar dust is not just material, it is potential. It is the raw whisper of tomorrow, echoing quietly as it passes through the light of today. Scientists have found that some interstellar grains contain organic compounds, simple molecules made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. These are not signs of life, but of life's building blocks. In the chemistry of dust, we see the same chains that in time and complexity may become amino acids, sugars, even nucleotides. Could it be that life, or the potential for life, is seeded not just by planets, but by the dust that predates them? Some wonder whether these compounds, drifting in on comets or meteors, may have given Earth the spark it needed to begin the long path toward consciousness. We may never know for sure. The distances are too great, the events too ancient, but even in not knowing there is comfort. The idea that life could be part of a larger galactic pattern, a story told not once but many times across many stars, lends peace to the uncertainty. We are not alone in being made of stardust. We are part of a greater cycle, and that cycle is rich with gentle motion and quiet origins. Now consider the spaces between. The regions where dust gathers more thickly are called molecular clouds, cold, dark zones where new stars are born. These clouds are like cosmic wombs veiled in opacity, their interiors invisible to optical light. But with radio telescopes we can peer inside, and what we see is breathtaking. Filaments of dust stretch across space like strands of silk. Within them, denser knots collapse into stars. Planets are born in these same regions, forming from the dust that never quite made it into the star. Some of that dust is interstellar, carried in from beyond, mixed into the beginnings of new systems. In these hidden nurseries, the galaxy refreshes itself, old dust be. Comes new light, what was once the debris of death becomes the foundation of birth. It is a cycle so vast and slow that we can only grasp it in glimpses, but those glimpses are enough. They remind us that destruction is not the end, that even in disintegration, something is preserved. Dust, so often a symbol of decay, is in space a symbol of transformation. This is what the interstellar grains teach us. They teach us to look beyond the surface, beyond the noise, to the quiet patterns that endure. They teach us that the smallest things can hold the deepest meanings, and that the softest voices are often the most lasting. In a single grain, you may find a map of a star's life, a trace of ancient chemistry, and the seed of a world yet to be. That grain may be drifting now, quietly past the orbit of Neptune, unseen and untroubled, heading for a new story. And as you imagine that, perhaps you can feel something shift inside, a settling, a softening. The galaxy is not cold, not hostile. It is tender in its own way, full of slow exchanges, quiet gifts. The dust that hides the stars also births them. The fragments that obscure the light also reflect it, refract it, turn it golden. Interstellar dust does not shout, it whispers. And if we listen closely, we can hear what it says: everything is connected, nothing is truly lost. And even the smallest part can carry the light of 1,000 suns. Now we follow the last drift of this story, floating gently through the final echoes of interstellar dust. The grains that cross the galaxy have no destination, yet they travel. They have no awareness, yet they endure. In their quiet, wandering presence lies the spirit of the cosmos, endlessly unfolding, endlessly reshaping, but never hurried. And as we bring this tale to rest, we are left not with answers, but with stillness. The kind of stillness that comes after the last note of a lullaby has faded, when the listener is left cradled in thought. Think of the dust that fell to Earth long before any eyes had seen stars. It drifted in on the solar wind, slipped quietly through the magnetic shield, and came to rest in oceans, deserts, forests. No one noticed it, yet it became part of this planet's breath. Some of it entered ancient soil, blending with minerals absorbed by roots. Some may have become part of ancient organisms, woven into cells, carried in the currents of blood or sap. In this way, the galaxy touched Earth not with thunder, but with grace, and we unknowingly carried pieces of other stars within us. Now imagine that process continuing even now, even as you breathe. Each year, thousands of tons of cosmic dust settle on Earth. Most of it is solar, ash from comets, fragments from asteroids, but a fraction is older, interstellar, ancient beyond reckoning. It comes in silence, floats down through atmosphere and cloud, and settles onto rooftops, rivers, mountaintops, skin. You may have walked through it, you may have brushed it from your clothes, you may be breathing it now. And though invisible, it is present, a soft reminder that the cosmos is not distant, but here, woven into every surface, every inhale. Astronomers once dreamed of catching this dust in space before it touched Earth. They built spacecraft like stardust, sending them into comet trails into the outer edges of the solar system. They designed collectors with delicate aerogel panels, soft enough to catch grains without breaking them. And when those spacecraft returned, the dust they brought back became treasure, an archive of cosmic fragments, each one a story folded tight. Scientists opened those stories grain by grain, reading them with patience, finding oxygen, carbon, calcium, iron. And in some, signs of amino acids, the language of life written faintly in ancient ink. What those grains reveal is that space is not barren. It is fertile in its own way. The seeds may not sprout in vacuum, but they wait, carried across vastness, until the right world, the right warmth, the right ocean offers them shelter. Some may fall and vanish, some may never reach such a place. But a few, just a few, may find their resting ground, and from their chemistry, new stories may rise. Life may not be born in space, but space may be its messenger, carrying potential across the quiet years. In the grand scale of things, we are just another gathering of dust. Earth itself is formed from the same elements that make up comets and stars. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your lungs, all of it once flowed through stellar cores, exploded outward, condensed again. To be alive is to be composed of stardust, not metaphorically, but truly. And when you understand that, something shifts. You are not beneath the universe, not apart from it. You are made of it, breathing it, thinking with it. You are one of its ways of knowing itself. Perhaps that is why interstellar dust feels so poetic, because it is more than science. It is a mirror held up to our ori. Jinns to our essence. It drifts without eyes, yet we see through it. It moves without thought, yet we think about it. It has no voice, yet we write its song. And in doing so, we become the consciousness of the dust, the dreamers within the matter, the listeners to the silence. When the James Webb Space Telescope was launched, one of its goals was to see through the veils of interstellar dust. With its infrared eyes, it could pierce the dark clouds, revealing stars being born, galaxies long vanished, light billions of years old. But even as it looked beyond the dust, it also honored it, because without those grains, much of what it sees would not exist. The shadows it dispels are also the foundations of worlds. In this balance between obscuring and revealing, dust becomes both mystery and medium. Now let us float gently backward, away from the instruments, away from the data, and return to the feeling. Picture space not as void, but as a great ocean of light and shadow, warmth and silence. Across this ocean, dust sails like tiny ships carrying starlight and memory. Some ships travel alone, others cluster together, forming clouds, then stars, then systems. And some continue drifting forever, too small to notice, too patient to stop. They will never arrive, but they never tire. They are the threads of the galaxy, and we, for a moment, are woven into them. Let this image linger with you, a single grain of dust carried on the breeze between stars, entering the solar system not with a flash but with a breath. It passes through the orbit of Neptune, floats past Saturn's rings, skirts the gravity of Jupiter, and finds Earth. It drifts through our atmosphere, slips into a quiet forest, and settles on the surface of a leaf. The leaf trembles in the wind, and the dust falls to the soil where it becomes part of the ground. Rain falls, roots stretch. A seed germinates, and in time, a tree grows with branches that reach for the stars from which the dust once came. And so we return to the beginning. Interstellar dust is not just what floats between stars, it is what connects them. It is what carries their stories, their chemistry, their potential. It is what hides and reveals, what drifts and settles, what ends and begins again. In every handful of soil, in every breath of air, in every moment of stillness, the dust is present. And if you listen, not with ears, but with quiet, you can hear what it says. You are not separate. You are made of the same silence. You are part of the same story. So rest now with that thought cradled gently in your chest. The dust will keep drifting. The stars will keep forming. The whispers will continue. And in the soft rhythm of the cosmos, you are not alone. You are surrounded by memory, by mystery, by motion. Even in stillness, you are moving. Even in darkness, you are touched by light, and even in silence, you are part of the song. Out in the vast stretches of space, where time moves without hurry and light travels patiently across eons, there drifts a quiet kind of language, messages without voices, letters without words. This language is made not of ink or sound, but of matter itself, tiny fragments, broken pieces, silent messengers. They move through the void with no destination, remnants of ancient collisions, forgotten planets, shattered moons. What we call space debris is not always a trace of human machines, but more often the dust and rubble of long-lost histories. And in each piece is a story, a clue, a whisper from a star that may no longer shine. Some of these fragments are as old as the galaxy itself. They have seen the birth of stars, the collapse of giants, the gentle growth of icy rings around newborn worlds. Others are newer, formed in the crumpling impact of asteroid upon asteroid, or ejected from volcanic worlds when fire met sky. Some are glassy spheres, cooled from molten shock. Others are porous rocks, scarred with the memory of cosmic violence. And yet, none of them speak aloud. They simply drift, caught in the slow ballet of gravity, crossing the solar system and beyond, touching planets, falling into atmospheres, or sailing onward into the deep. Here on Earth, some of these messengers find their way to us. They fall through our skies as meteorites, blazing briefly in light, then falling silent once more. We gather them from deserts and ice fields, from rooftops and riverbeds. In each blackened stone, scientists discover a relic, a fragment that carries within it the chemistry of its origin, sometimes older than the Earth itself. These are pieces of asteroids, of ancient comets, of lost bodies that never grew large enough to be called worlds. They are messengers of time, soft voices from before we were born. When scientists study these stones, they are not just examining rock, they are reading records. Meteorites can contain chondrules, tiny round beads of melted dust that date back to the earliest days of the solar system. Some meteorites contain pre-solar GR. Ains, flecks of matter that formed around other stars, traveled across the galaxy and became part of the swirling cloud that birthed our sun. In this way, each stone is a library, and though the writing is not in any language we speak, we have learned to read it with instruments, with mathematics, with patient attention. The silence of these messengers is not emptiness, it is fullness condensed into form. Imagine holding one of these stones in your hand. It is cold, unassuming, maybe no larger than a fist, but within it are atoms that came from stars billions of years old, iron forged in supernovae, carbon dust from the breath of dying red giants, silicates condensed in the shadow of collapsing clouds. That stone has traveled longer than humanity has existed, moving through space, colliding, drifting, waiting. And now it rests in your palm, a quiet companion from the far side of time. Space debris also lingers closer to home. Between Mars and Jupiter lies the asteroid belt, a region filled with rocky bodies that never coalesced into a planet. Here, countless collisions have shaped and reshaped the fragments. Some asteroids are solid, others are loose collections of rubble, barely held together by gravity. When two bodies collide, the pieces scatter, and over millions of years, some are nudged inward, crossing paths with Earth. These messengers are not threats, they are reminders. They show us that the solar system is alive, dynamic, ever-changing. And they remind us that our world is not an island, but part of a vast network of motion and exchange. Some space debris comes from farther out, from the icy realm beyond Neptune, the Kuiper belt, and even the scattered disk. Here comets slumber in deep cold, their orbits stretched into long ellipses. Occasionally, one is stirred by a passing star or a subtle gravitational nudge, and it begins a long fall toward the sun. As it approaches, sunlight warms its surface, and the ices begin to sublimate, releasing gas and dust into a glowing tail. Pieces break off, dust scatters. Some of it lingers in orbit, some of it falls toward Earth. These are the soft messengers, the icy scribes of the outer dark. They do not roar. They trail behind light, leaving poems in their wake. And then beyond even these distant zones lie the objects we can barely see, fragments from other star systems, interstellar debris. Just as our system sends out dust and ice into the galaxy, so too does it receive. Objects like 1I/Oumuamua, 2I/Borisov, and 3I Atlas may represent larger pieces of this invisible current, but they are only the most noticeable. Fainter, smaller debris may pass through regularly, unnoticed except in rare collections, hinted at in the odd chemistry of a captured grain or an unusual meteor spectrum. These are the most ancient of messengers, crossing not just space, but the vast gulf between stars. For those who gaze upward, the sky is not just light, it is motion. Trails of debris cross our vision every night, silent meteors burning and vanishing in the blink of an eye. Most are no larger than grains of sand, yet even these small sparks are stories. They tell of collisions that happened millions of years ago, of fragments launched into orbit, of paths that circled the sun dozens or hundreds of times before ending in a brief moment of brightness. And though they vanish quickly, their memory lingers not in sound, but in the soft imprint they leave upon our sense of wonder. You may never see a meteorite fall. You may never hold a fragment of the moon or Mars or an asteroid in your hand, but you can imagine it. You can feel perhaps the closeness of the cosmos in each breath, in each patch of sky. The debris of space is not distant. It comes to us gently, silently, carrying with it not just matter but meaning. It says, I was part of something larger, I broke away, I wandered, and now I am here. Let that thought settle quietly. All across space, silent messengers continue their paths. They fall into stars, they land on icy moons. They become part of rings, part of soil, part of stories. Some may never be seen, some may arrive long after we are gone, but all of them carry something precious, the continuity of the universe, the quiet persistence of matter in motion. They do not speak, but they are never silent, and if we listen with care, we can learn to understand their language. Let us drift deeper now into the quiet stories these messengers carry. Every shard of space debris is a remnant of a world that once dreamed of becoming whole. Some of these fragments are born from failed beginnings, planetesimals that never grew into planets, bodies that were pulled apart by tidal forces or shattered by ancient impacts. Their pieces still wander, long after their larger forms have vanished. And as they circle through space, these fragments remember. They carry the marks of heat and cold, of pressure and stillness, of collisions and escapes. In the silence of their orbits, they hold the deep history of the cosmos. When we study meteorites found on Earth, we discover traces of this past etched in their structures. Some contain thin lines of melted rock, signs of past collisions that released immense energy. Others reveal mineral formations that speak of slow cooling, of time spent in the hearts of asteroids or even small planetary cores. A few, rare and precious, are older than Earth itself, tiny relics of the solar nebula, the cloud of gas and dust that spun into the sun and planets. These are the messengers of our own beginning, fragments that remember the moment our system stirred into being. Some meteorites are even more specific. Scientists have identified stones from the moon, launched into space by impacts and eventually falling to Earth. Others come from Mars, their chemical signatures matching the red planet's air and rock. These fragments tell us that planetary surfaces are not closed. They speak to one another through these unplanned exchanges. A meteor strike can hurl a piece of one world into the sky, where it floats for ages before finding another. In this way, rocks become letters sent between planets, carrying the language of geology, of time, of change. And not all space debris is natural. In the decades since humanity first reached beyond the atmosphere, we too have added to the cloud of drifting objects. Old satellites, rocket fragments, flecks of paint, even tools lost by astronauts, they circle the Earth in orbits high and low, a new layer of messengers made by human hands. Most are silent, inert, forgotten. Some still transmit a slow pulse of signal, some burn in the atmosphere. Others remain, tracing paths through space, reminders that we too are part of this pattern of scattering and drift. But where natural debris speaks of time and birth and ancient violence, human-made debris tells a different story. It speaks of ambition, of exploration, of the will to rise above gravity. It tells of missions long completed, of dreams launched skyward, of experiments conducted in weightlessness. And though it adds a note of caution, of clutter, of carelessness, it also adds a layer of intimacy, for in those fragments are stories of people. Engineers who built satellites, astronauts who orbited Earth, teams who watched from below. Our presence in space, like that of asteroids and comets, is marked by what we leave behind. Further from Earth, spacecraft become messengers themselves. Voyager 1 and 2, still traveling outward decades after launch, carry golden records with images and sounds of our world. They are not debris, but ambassadors, intentional messages cast into the sea of stars. Someday they may pass near another system. Perhaps no one will ever find them, but they travel nonetheless, silent and patient, like all other messengers in space. Their journey is one of hope, of reaching, of believing that distance need not mean disconnection. Yet most messengers do not carry gold or symbols. They carry only matter. They drift, spin, break, and continue. Between planets and stars, they move slowly, governed by gravity and momentum. And in their motion, they shape the environments they pass through. Rings around Saturn and Uranus are made of such debris, icy particles that reflect sunlight and cast shadows. They may be the remnants of shattered moons or captured comets, now spread into thin veils of dancing particles. These rings, though delicate, are dynamic, constantly refreshed, constantly evolving. The debris within them tells the story not just of destruction, but of transformation. Comet tails, too, are made of messengers in motion. As the sun warms a comet's surface, dust and ice are released, forming glowing trails that can stretch millions of kilometers. Some of this material falls back, some escapes entirely, and some becomes part of meteor showers on Earth. Each grain in a meteor shower is a tiny piece of a larger tale, a comet's long journey, its encounter with warmth, its slow unraveling. And when those grains burn in our skies, they give us light, and through that light, a sense of connection. For a brief moment, we see the silent messengers becoming fire, becoming beauty, before fading again into the night. Even planetary rings and comet tails are only part of the story. Around distant stars, astronomers have detected disks of debris, rings of dust and rock that glow in infrared light. These debris disks are signs of systems still forming or colliding. They may be the wreckage of young planets or the aftermath of ancient impacts. We cannot touch these grains, cannot hold them in our hands, but we can see their glow. And in that glow is the proof that space is not static, not dead. It is sculpted by motion, by interaction, by the slow but powerful dance of matter across time. In some young systems, massive impacts may have shattered planets, flinging debris outward. Some of this material may coalesce again, forming new moons or rings. Some may be lost. forever cast into interstellar space, but all of it is part of the same rhythm: destruction followed by creation, silence followed by story. Debris in its quiet persistence becomes the medium through which the galaxy speaks, not in sentences, but in paths, in dust, in light. You may wonder, what does it mean to listen to these messengers? It means paying attention to what falls, to what glows, to what drifts. It means reading meteorites like books, observing debris disks like archives, watching rings and tails as chapters unfolding. It means recognizing that even the smallest fragment carries within it the memory of what was, and perhaps the hint of what will be. As we build instruments to study more, to see farther, to collect dust from comets and asteroids, we are not just gathering samples, we are listening. And what we hear is not noise but calm, an ancient calm that stretches back to the first stars, that continues still in the paths of every fragment. The messengers do not rush, they do not argue. They simply move gently, slowly across the dark, leaving trails of knowledge behind them like footprints in the cosmic dust. Let this awareness settle. Let the stillness of it reach you. In your bones, in your breath, in your thoughts, you carry the same atoms as these fragments. You too are a messenger. You too drift in orbit, shaped by forces beyond your choosing, yet moving always, carrying stories, leaving traces. In the quiet of the night, when the stars seem close and time feels slow, remember, you are part of the same silence. And somewhere a grain of dust is circling a star, whispering of a world it once knew. Let us follow the messengers now to their gentle ending, not a final stop, but a continuation, soft and unbroken, like a ripple that never fades. The space debris we have spoken of, the fragments drifting through the cosmos, do not end their journey with impact or disappearance. They become part of something else. They settle into new orbits, dissolve into atmospheres, bury themselves in dust and ice. They do not vanish, they transform. And as they do, they continue to carry meaning, silent, steady, celestial meaning. That speaks not of endings, but of the unceasing flow of cosmic memory. On Earth, the remnants of meteorites rest in museums, in laboratories, and in quiet drawers lined with velvet. Some are sliced thin and examined under microscopes, revealing glittering grains of olivine and pyroxene. Others are cut and polished, their metallic cores gleaming with nickel and iron. Each slice is like a window, not just into another world, but into another time. And in classrooms, in lectures, in stories shared beneath starlit skies, these pieces of once wandering rock continue to speak. They tell young minds that the universe is not far away, not distant or unreachable, but near, touchable, knowable, intimate. Beyond our planet, other worlds are also touched by messengers. The moon's surface is marked by impacts from countless fragments. Without an atmosphere to shield it, every stone that arrives leaves a scar, a crater, a memory. Mars, too, bears the signatures of bombardment, valleys carved by ancient strikes, rock layers overturned by collisions. Even icy Europa and shadowed Pluto have their stories, written in the language of debris. These places, so far from us, so quiet in the night, are part of the same story. They are not passive, they are receivers, archives, storytellers made of stone and frost. And in the spaces between these worlds, debris continues to drift. Some of it is trapped in the Lagrange points, where gravity holds it in soft balance. Some travels in resonances with planets, moving in harmony, orbit after orbit. Other fragments wander still, untouched and unnoticed, awaiting a moment, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps a million years from now, when they will touch another surface and begin another story. There is comfort in knowing this, comfort in realizing that nothing is truly lost in space, that even shattered pieces are carried forward. Every impact, every collision, every scattering is followed by quiet flight. Nothing is rushed, nothing is wasted. Debris once cast off becomes potential. What seems broken becomes beautiful again, not because it is repaired, but because it is transformed. This is the lesson of space. Permanence is not required for meaning. Some scientists imagine future missions that will return more samples of space debris, automated collectors that will gather particles from comets, from the asteroid belt, from beyond the orbit of Neptune. Others dream of following interstellar fragments as they pass through our solar system, to learn more of the places they came from. And still others look to the skies above Earth, tracking the growing cloud of human-made debris, seeking ways to clean it, to clear it, to preserve space for the generations to come. All of these are ways of listening to the messengers, of treating their silence with care.
But you, D.
Oh, not need a telescope or a spacecraft to feel their presence. You only need stillness. Go outside on a clear night, look up at the stars. Perhaps you will see a shooting star, a brief flash, the end of a grain's long journey. In that moment, a story concludes, not with a roar, but with a glow, not with a voice, but with light. And though it fades, you remember it. That memory becomes part of your own. In this way, the story continues. You may find yourself wondering what messages these fragments carry, what they have seen, what forces shaped them, what paths they've crossed. Perhaps there are things we will never know, but the wonder itself is part of the message. To ask the question is to connect. To look at a fragment and feel its age, its journey, its silence, that is the meaning. These are not just rocks, they are witnesses. And if space debris is the voice of memory, then we too become messengers when we listen. We carry the meaning forward in our science, in our poetry, in our gentle awe. We build stories around the fragments. We imagine the worlds they came from. We create images, sounds, reflections. We become part of the conversation, part of the drift, part of the exchange. The silence of space is never lonely when it is filled with listening. Now let this story quiet itself. Let the messengers go on their way. Picture them moving slowly through space, their paths curved by distant gravity, their surfaces changed by time and light. They are not lost, they are not broken, they are simply continuing. Some will orbit the sun for ages, some will fall into planets, some will escape entirely, moving on to other stars. But all of them remain part of the great unfolding, the galaxy's endless weaving of matter and memory. You may never see them again, you may never know their names, but they are with you, always hovering above, falling unseen, whispering softly in the language of dust. When you walk beneath the stars, remember, something is always drifting near. Something ancient, something gentle, something shaped by the same forces that shaped you. It does not demand your attention, but if you give it, it offers peace. The peace of knowing you belong to something vast and kind and continuous. So let this story rest. Close your eyes and feel the motion of these fragments, the hush of their travels, the echo of their quiet presence. Let the messengers pass. Let the messages remain. And know with a calm heart that in every orbit, every spark, every stone, the universe is speaking, not loudly but clearly. And in listening, we become part of its song. Beyond the bright circles of the inner planets, past the sweep of Jupiter's gravity and the icy sigh of Saturn's rings, the sun's light begins to stretch thin. The warmth fades. The planets grow sparse. But the wind still flows, a solar wind, a stream of charged particles that pours outward from the sun in all directions, an invisible breath that touches every corner of the solar system. It moves without sound, without color, but it moves with purpose. And through it drift shadows, remnants, fragments, and ghostly bodies of forgotten worlds. These shadows are not ghosts in the mythical sense, but they are real in the quietest way. They are icy dwarfs, darkened moons, lost comets, and orphaned rocks. Some were once part of greater bodies, broken in collisions long ago. Others are survivors of the solar system's earliest age, untouched for billions of years. They drift not in the busy lanes of planets, but in the outskirts where gravity is weaker and time feels slower. And though we rarely see them, they are always there, moving gently through the solar wind like old memories that never quite disappear. The solar wind itself is not wind as we know it. It carries no breeze, no scent, no rustle. It is made of protons and electrons escaping the sun's corona with immense energy, flowing outward at hundreds of kilometers per second. It carves paths through the magnetic fields of planets. It shapes the tails of comets. It sculpts space. And though it cannot be seen directly, its effects are everywhere. It is the breath of the star we orbit, and everything it touches is changed in some small, invisible way. Far beyond Neptune, where the sun is only a bright star among others, the wind continues. It grows weaker, but it does not stop. Here in the Kuiper Belt and beyond drift countless icy bodies, dwarf planets like Pluto and Eris, and smaller objects like Haumea and Makemake. These worlds are cold, silent, and dark. Their surfaces bear the scars of time, craters from ancient impacts, patches of frozen nitrogen, slow-moving glaciers of methane ice. They do not glow, they do not sing. But they exist, holding within them stories of formation and exile. Some of these forgotten worlds once danced closer to the sun. In the early days of the solar system, when orbits were still shifting and giants were migrating, many bodies were tossed outward, flung into distant elliptical paths by the great planet's gravity. Some settled in the outer reaches, some were lost to the dark between stars, and some linger still, orbiting in long, slow loops that may take centuries to complete. These are the long-forgotten companions of the sun, still bound to its light but barely touched by its warmth. Astronomers have names for the regions where these bodies live: the Kuiper belt, the scattered disk, the Oort cloud. But these names are only gentle nets cast over vastness. We have barely begun to explore them. What we know comes from faint dots of light moving slowly across deep sky images, from the gentle wobble of a planet's path hinting at a mass we cannot yet see, from the faint tails of comets that visit us briefly before retreating again into cold. Among these cold drifters are objects that challenge our understanding. Some follow orbits too strange to explain. Some seem too large to have gone unnoticed. Some, like the hypothetical Planet 9, are only whispers, mathematical suggestions that something massive may be out there, shaping the orbits of smaller bodies. Whether real or not, such ideas invite us to keep looking, to keep wondering, to keep listening for what the solar wind may reveal. And it is not just objects that drift through this realm, but histories. The outer solar system is a kind of museum, preserving what the inner worlds have long forgotten. While Earth has changed, its surface shaped by weather, water, and life, the icy bodies beyond have remained still. Their surfaces are records, etched not by rain but by radiation. Their orbits are long poems of gravitational interaction. Their compositions are the original chemistry of the sun's nursery cloud, frozen in place and time. To imagine one of these forgotten worlds is to imagine silence, not the silence of absence, but the silence of completeness. No atmosphere, no wind, no sound, only stillness. A place where shadows fall slowly, where sunlight takes hours to arrive and hours more to fade. A place where time does not pass quickly, where nothing hurries, where the pace of change is glacial and calm. In this silence, the solar wind whispers. It brushes over surfaces, charging them with particles, altering their magnetic fields, shaping the flow of ionized gases. It sculpts the tails of comets, wrapping them in veils of light that always point away from the sun. It dances with the interstellar medium at the edge of the heliosphere, where the sun's influence finally meets the wider galaxy. And in that dance, the forgotten worlds drift, unbothered, unchanged, holding their paths like lullabies humming through space. Occasionally, one of these bodies is disturbed. A passing star may nudge an orbit. A gravitational resonance may shift a path, and then slowly, almost imperceptibly, the object begins to fall inward. It starts a journey toward the sun, a journey that may take hundreds of years. As it approaches, it warms, ice turns to vapor, dust escapes, a tail begins to form. And suddenly, what was forgotten becomes visible, a glowing comet arcing across the sky, carrying with it the voice of a distant, frozen world. To see a comet is to witness a memory returning. It is a piece of the past made luminous by the present. It is the moment when a shadow becomes light, and when that light fades again, the shadow continues, retreating to its cold, slow path. Most comets will never return, but they leave behind stories, trails of dust, impacts on moons, water in Earth's oceans. Their touch is brief but lasting. So many of these forgotten worlds will never be seen. They are too far, too faint, too slow. They drift beneath the reach of our telescopes, beneath the focus of our plans, but they are not lost. They are still part of the solar system. They still orbit the same sun. They still move with the same grace. They are reminders that not all that matters is visible, not all that belongs must be near. Sometimes, what drifts in shadow holds the most ancient truths. And as we send spacecraft farther out, as we launch probes toward the Kuiper belt and beyond, we begin to glimpse them, not just in images, but in understanding. New Horizons, after its visit to Pluto, found Arakoth, a contact binary object so ancient, so untouched, that it offered a window into the earliest moments of planetary formation. And in that quiet body, we saw not just ice and rock, but memory, softly curved, gently joined, drifting forever in the solar wind. Let us drift farther now, carried softly on the wind that never stops blowing, into the quiet places where forgotten worlds wander in their slow, patient loops. Out here, in the shadowy domains past the gas giants, everything moves to a rhythm beyond our clocks. Years are long, days stretch on for weeks. And in this time-stilled space, the sun no longer dominates with its warmth, but only with its presence, a distant glow, a gravitational anchor pulling these slow-moving travelers through the dark.
Okay.
These are places where silence has weight, where the absence of motion is not emptiness but calm. Imagine a world where a single sunrise comes once every few decades, where the surface temperature never rises above the frost point of nitrogen, where a thin veil of methane might drift lazily over a cratered plain, stirred only by the soft breath of the solar wind. These are not places of noise or fire, but of shadows and ice, of memory and stillness. Among these places are the dwarf planets, Pluto, Eris, Sedna, and countless others not yet named, their paths wide and slow. They orbit in the far reaches, some in gentle ellipses, others in elongated arcs that take them thousands of years to circle the sun. They are the ghosts of the solar system's formation, remnants of the original chaos that never became full-fledged planets. Yet what they lack in size or heat, they make up for in story. Every ridge, every pit, every faint trace of frozen erosion is a page in the long, cold book of their lives. When the New Horizons spacecraft passed Pluto in 2015, we glimpsed this frozen history for the first time. We saw icy plains smoother than expected, hinting at recent resurfacing. We saw towering mountains of water ice rising from a surface blanketed in nitrogen frost. We saw a heart-shaped region, so perfectly formed it felt like a message, though it was only geology shaped by time and physics. But in that moment, Pluto stopped being a name and became a world, a quiet wanderer still shaped by processes we do not yet fully understand. Farther still, the scattered disk and the hypothesized Oort cloud stretch the solar system into a sphere so vast that light takes days to cross it. Here, icy bodies drift in near-total darkness, only faintly bound by the sun's gravity. These objects, if they exist in the numbers scientists predict, are the ancient exiles, cast outward during the formation of the solar system by the violent rearrangement of giant planets. Some may still feel the tug of distant stars. Some may be knocked loose by passing bodies, but most remain where they are, moving slowly, coldly, endlessly through the farthest winds of our star's breath. The solar wind even here plays its part. Though weakened and thinned, it still touches the outer heliosphere, shaping the invisible boundary where our solar system gives way to the galaxy. This boundary is not a wall, but a veil, a place where the charged particles from the sun meet the wider interstellar medium. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 have crossed this threshold, and in doing so, they have touched something profound, the true edge of the sun's influence. Yet even here, among these most distant places, the wind carries news of the sun's light. It is a soft whisper, barely heard but constant. To live in such a place, to imagine it, is to understand time differently. Here, change comes slowly. The seasons last centuries. The ice remains undisturbed for eons. Craters preserve the marks of collisions that happened before Earth had oceans. There is no erosion, no rushing air, no flowing water to wash away the past. Everything that has happened remains visible. Time itself becomes the landscape. And yet, even in this deep slowness, there is activity. The surfaces of these distant objects can change. Solar radiation can alter the chemistry of their ices. Cosmic rays can darken their surfaces. Occasional impacts stir the ground, lifting plumes of dust into the near vacuum. And some, like comets, can be nudged by the faintest of forces, a subtle gravitational resonance, the passing tug of a star, and begin their long fall back toward the sun. These returns are not sudden, they take generations. But they remind us that even the quietest paths can shift, that even the most forgotten objects are still part of the great motion. Astronomers now search for more of these bodies, using ever larger telescopes tuned to the faintest glimmers of reflected sunlight. They map the orbits of known trans-Neptunian objects, looking for patterns that suggest unseen masses. Some suspect there is a planet-sized object, perhaps 5 or 10 times the mass of Earth, lurking in the outer dark, a world we have not yet seen, but whose gravity whispers in the behavior of other bodies. Whether it is found or not, the search itself reveals how little we know about the edges of our own system. There is poetry in this unknowing. Not all mysteries need solutions. Some are meant to remind us of the scale of things, of the vastness beyond our current reach. The outer solar system is not an empty place, but a slow one, a realm where change takes millennia, where discovery requires patience, where the sun's light arrives not as warmth, but as memory. In that patience there is beauty. In that slowness there is wisdom. These forgotten worlds teach us that not all motion must be fast to matter. Not all stories must be loud to be meaningful. In the soft flow of their orbits, in the way they hold the sunlig. For hours before releasing it again, they show us a way of being that does not require urgency. They simply are present, complete, moving in harmony with the forces that shaped them. They ask for nothing. They offer no threat, and yet they carry the earliest whispers of our solar story. Let yourself imagine now the farthest edge, where the last particles of the solar wind meet the starlight from beyond. Here the sun is only one star among many. Here the Oort cloud begins, an immense spherical halo of icy bodies so distant that a single orbit could take 1,000,000 years. These objects are the true wanderers, the original messengers, the last echoes of our star's formation. Some may never return. Some will be stirred and sent inward, arriving as long-period comets that glow briefly before vanishing again. And some will remain, drifting in cold, gentle silence, untouched for the lifetime of civilizations. To think of these places is to feel the universe slowing. Your breath becomes quieter, your thoughts spread wider. The noise of the day fades and you are left only with motion, the long, slow motion of forgotten worlds through the solar wind. They are not lost, they are simply far, and in that distance they keep something safe, the memory of how everything began and the promise that there is always more to discover, more to feel, more to follow. And now we arrive at the quietest edge of the solar system's breath, where the wind gives way to silence and the drifting worlds continue, unbothered, unseen. This is not an ending, but a place of stillness, of continuation beyond knowing. Here the forgotten worlds circle endlessly, slow as thought, soft as sleep, wrapped in the long hush of time. They do not call attention to themselves. They do not burn or cry or move with force. They drift, and in their drifting, they remind us that motion does not require noise to be meaningful. Out here, light arrives like a whisper. It takes hours to reach them, sunlight stretched thin, golden, and cold, like a memory remembered too late. A sunrise on such a world is not bright. It is a slow blooming, a dim glow rising over a horizon made of ice and dust. Shadows move so slowly you would need days to see them shift. But they do shift gently, patiently, as the body turns, as the sun creeps across a distant sky. This is the realm of the true deep-time travelers. The objects that circle here have seen the solar system grow and change. They have witnessed comets being born, planets migrating, moons being captured, and still they endure. The Oort cloud, that final veil of the sun's reach, is believed to hold trillions of icy fragments, leftovers of planetary construction, forgotten companions of formation. Most will never be seen. Their paths are too vast, their light too faint. But they are there always, like a soft shell around the solar system, guarding its memory. We may never visit these places, but we feel their presence in other ways. In the long-period comets that surprise our skies, in the subtle gravitational patterns detected in trans-Neptunian orbits, in the faint whispers of particles recorded by Voyager and New Horizons as they reach the edge of space. These signals are not loud. They are gentle knocks on a faraway door telling us something is still out here, something remains. Even now, as technology reaches farther, we cannot see most of them, but we imagine, and in imagining we connect. Scientists build models, trace trajectories, run simulations. They map not just what is, but what might be, sketching the edges of the known with the soft pencil of wonder. And that wonder is not just science, it is something deeper. It is the human desire to feel part of the whole, to know that nothing is truly alone, not even a frozen rock drifting beyond the planets. And yet, for all their distance, these objects are made of the same elements as us. Water, carbon, silicates, ammonia, familiar things in unfamiliar arrangements. Some may hold complex organic molecules formed in the cold chemistry of interstellar space before the solar system was born. Others may hold only ice and stone, unchanged for 4 billion years, but all of them carry stories. They are time capsules, scattered not by hands, but by gravity and chaos, by the strange choreography of the early solar system. Think of a small body, no larger than a mountain, orbiting out near the edge of the Oort cloud. It hasn't changed in 1 billion years. It circles slowly, its surface blackened by cosmic rays, its core cold and untouched. It has never been named, it has never been seen, but it is real and it is part of our solar family. And someday, long from now, it might feel a nudge, just enough to set it falling inward. It begins a journey, one that will take tens of thousands of years. And when it finally arrives, flaring briefly as a comet, its path tells a tale no book ever could. This is the nature of forgotten worlds. They are not forgotten because I matter less, but because they wait in silence. They hold space for what came before, and they preserve the raw material of what may come again. In their darkness is a kind of light, a quiet continuity, a background hum of belonging. They show us that not all beauty lies in the center, not all energy lies in heat. Sometimes the most profound truths rest at the edges, waiting for us to look outward long enough to see them. And so in these drifting worlds, we find a kind of peace. They are not racing, they are not changing quickly. They are simply being held gently in the embrace of gravity and time. And that slowness, that patience is soothing. It reminds us that not all things must be fast to be meaningful. That quiet has value, that shadows can hold just as much wonder as light. The solar wind continues, thin and old, reaching farther with each breath, even as its strength wanes. It meets the galaxy's edge softly, without resistance, fading into the wider tide of interstellar particles. And the worlds it once touched drift on, not needing its warmth, only its memory. They are not forgotten, not truly. They are remembered by motion, by the path they trace, by the silence they keep. You too are part of this. When you look at the sky, when you wonder what lies beyond, you are joining the drift. Your thoughts become extensions of the same current that carries these distant objects. Your imagination follows where the wind cannot go, and in that following, the forgotten become known again, not with names, but with attention, not with ownership, but with care. So let the final image be one of quiet, a dark world lit faintly by a distant sun moving slowly through the stars. No voices, no signals, no fire, just shadow on frost, just orbit on emptiness. It continues as it always has, as it always will. And in that continuing, we are reminded some journeys are slow, and that is beautiful. Some places are far, and that is okay. And some stories are told not in words, but in silence, drifting through the solar wind. The stars remember. Though they burn and shine with endless motion, though they pulse and flicker and fade across the ages, they hold a quiet memory, one not stored in thought, but in matter, in gravity, in the soft unfolding of time. The galaxy is old, so old that even light, traveling at its limit, needs more than 100,000 years to cross its spiral arms. And yet within that vastness, stars form, stars die, and in their wake they send out travelers, slow-moving pieces of memory drifting through the dark. These travelers are not like us. They do not think or choose. They are dust and rock, gas and ice, atoms rearranged by fire and released by force. Some are thrown from newborn systems in the chaotic dance of planet formation. Others are launched into interstellar space by explosions, supernovae flinging their ashes outward. And some, like the interstellar object we call Atlas, are quiet wanderers, ejected not in violence but in time, released gently from the edge of a system, slipping past its star with just enough speed to escape its gravity forever. Atlas, named as the third known interstellar visitor, came and went like a soft breath in the long sigh of cosmic motion. Its presence in our solar system was brief, and yet within its short arc through our skies, it carried a memory that stretched backward through the stars. Not a conscious memory, but a molecular one. The kind of memory etched in structure, in the ratios of isotopes, in the layering of dust, in the way sunlight played across its surface. Atlas remembered the star that birthed it, not in words, but in the slow unfolding of its path. To study such an object is to read a letter without a language, to understand a shape without translation. Scientists watched it closely, mapping its orbit, noting its brightness, wondering at its silence. Unlike a typical comet, it did not erupt with dramatic tails of gas. Unlike an asteroid, it did not settle into a looping path. It came in fast and it left again, its hyperbolic trajectory proving it did not belong. And yet, for that brief moment, it was ours. A visitor from somewhere else, a piece of another story. Where did it come from? No one knows. The galaxy is full of stars, each with its own planets, its own dust, its own quiet motions. Somewhere long ago, a system stirred, a planet shifted, a rock was nudged. Over millions of years, the slow push of gravity, the drift of resonance, the pull of a distant body sent Atlas on its way. It crossed light years in silence, untouched by light, unnoticed by thought. Until finally it entered the reach of our sun, and we saw it, not as a full explanation, but as a question, glowing softly in the night. There is something humbling in that, in knowing that while we build cities and write books and speak into the wind, the universe continues, slow and steady, weaving its stories in silence. Atlas did not aim for us. It did not arrive. Why? Purpose. It simply passed near enough to be noticed. And that noticing, that brief exchange between human attention and ancient matter, is the memory it leaves behind. We may never know its origin, but we know it was real. And in knowing that, we are changed. The galaxy is not still. It is filled with motion, stars orbiting the center, gas clouds twisting, gravity bending the paths of everything it touches. Within this motion, debris is cast adrift. Some of it will fall into new system. Some will collide with stars and vanish, but some, like Atlas, will keep going. And some will arrive quietly, gently into the skies of other worlds just as it arrived in ours. Those worlds may notice, or they may not, but the journey continues regardless. Atlas was not the first. Oumuamua came before, flickering strangely, shaped perhaps like a shard, perhaps like a sail. Borisov followed, glowing with the clear signs of cometary gas. Each of these carried different kinds of memory, Oumuamua mysterious and quiet, Borisov more familiar, Atlas somewhere in between. Together they whisper that the space between stars is not empty. It is full of travel, full of stories too slow for us to tell in a single lifetime, but we can listen. We can notice, we can remember. And in that remembering, something opens. We begin to see ourselves not just as inhabitants of Earth, but as members of the galaxy. Our solar system is not a bubble, but a node, a crossing point where travelers pass through. Some of these travelers are fast, like Atlas. Others are slow, like dust from ancient collisions. Some arrive once and never return. Some pass unnoticed. But all carry with them a message that we are not separate and that space is not silent. Now imagine what it would mean to follow such a traveler, not with a telescope, but in thought. Picture the path of Atlas, not just through our skies, but back through time. Picture the star system it left behind, a place with planets and moons, perhaps oceans and clouds, perhaps only dust. Picture the forces that released it slowly over eons. And picture the long, cold journey that brought it here. That journey is still happening. Atlas has left us now, but it moves on, carrying the memory of its passing in its own motion. It will continue, perhaps for another million years, perhaps forever. It may pass near another system, another sun. It may be noticed again, or it may drift, quiet and unremarkable, until it is worn down by the soft abrasion of the interstellar medium, until it becomes dust again. And even then, its particles may continue to carry something of its origin, a thread in the greater fabric, a single note in the galaxy's slow music. These travelers do not seek meaning. They do not look back, but we do. We remember. We give them names. We chart their paths. We write stories about them. In doing so, we become part of their memory. And perhaps that is the real message they bring, not in the stone or the ice, but in the way they awaken our wonder, our reflection, our desire to listen. And so, when you hear the name Atlas, think not just of a rock in space, but of a journey. Think of emotion so slow it defies urgency. Think of a story so old it has no words. Think of a memory written in gravity, carried not by thought but by form. And in that memory find a mirror, a quiet reflection of your own passage through time. Let us drift deeper into the memory carried by travelers like Atlas, memories not stored in thought but etched in matter, carried across unimaginable time by fragments too small for voices, yet too vast in meaning to be silent. These interstellar visitors may be brief in presence, but their impression lingers, not because they stay, but because they arrive at all. Their coming reveals something fundamental. That space is not a vacuum of forgetting, but a slow, living field of remembrance. Memory in the cosmos is not like memory in the mind. It does not recall events as stories or moments. It recalls through form, through orbit, composition, velocity, temperature. Every rock, every speck of dust is shaped by its past. The heat it once felt, the collisions it endured, the forces that guided it, all leave traces, patterns that can be studied, unfolded, interpreted. A scientist holding a captured particle from a comet sees not just a mineral structure, but the residue of solar wind, the chemical fingerprint of interstellar gas, the quiet signature of where it once belonged. So too with Atlas, though we could not catch it, could not touch it, we saw it. We measured its arc, its brightness, its behavior. And in those measurements we found a mystery wrapped in evidence. Its path was not from our system, its speed too high to remain. Its chemistry hinted at something strange, perhaps an icy body that had long since lost its ices, or a rock unlike those we commonly find near the sun. And so its memory entered ours, not through collision, but through observation. This is how the stars remember, through what they release and through what they receive. Every system ejects fragments. Every star lets go of something. And sometimes those pieces cross the void, arriving in new places, shaping new stories. If even one grain of dust from Atlas lingers near Earth's orbit, becomes trapped by gravity, and one day falls into our atmosphere, it will carry with it the breath of another world. It may vaporize in fire. But its journey will have mattered, not for what it changes, but for what it touches along the way. The solar system, too, releases its own travelers. Comets and asteroids nudged outward by planetary encounters, icy bodies tossed into the far reaches of the Oort cloud or perhaps beyond. These will one day drift among the stars just as Atlas once did. They will carry the memory of our sun, its warmth, its chemistry, its gravity. And maybe in some distant system they will pass close enough to be seen. And maybe someone there will wonder, as we do, what story does this piece carry? Where did it come from? What does it remember? This endless exchange is the heartbeat of the galaxy. Not loud, not fast, but steady. A circulation of fragments, of materials, of silent messages that cross the stars over millions of years. Galaxies do not rush, they swirl. Stars do not hurry, they pulse. And in that rhythm, small things move slowly, yet always onward. They are the seeds of stories too vast for any one being to hold. It is possible that some travelers carry more than minerals. The organic compounds found in certain comets suggest that the basic ingredients of life are not confined to planets. Amino acids, simple sugars, carbon chains, all of these have been found in the dust left behind by comets and in meteorites that fall to Earth. Could these compounds have come from interstellar space? Could a traveler like Atlas once have carried the first whispers of life from one star system to another? We do not know, but the question matters. It reminds us that life is not separate from the cosmos, but part of it. That perhaps the spark that led to oceans and forests and thought did not begin only on Earth, but was kindled in the cold dark between suns. The memory of the stars, then, is not just chemical, it may be biological. And even if it is not, even if life arose only here, the materials that made it were shaped by stars, by explosions, by drift. And you listening now are made of those same materials. The iron in your blood was forged in a supernova. The oxygen in your lungs came from a star's core. The calcium in your bones, the carbon in your cells, all trace back to ancient suns. You are not apart from these travelers, you are their kin. You too carry memory and form. You too drift through space, on a planet orbiting a star that orbits a galaxy that moves through an even greater universe. You too are a traveler. Perhaps this is why objects like Atlas affect us so deeply. Not because they threaten us, not because they stay, but because they echo something inside us, a motion we recognize, a silence we understand. Their paths are distant, but their meaning is close. They pass through us not in matter, but in feeling. There is a kind of peace in knowing that even if we do not catch them, do not intercept or land or sample them, their presence still leaves an imprint. Like the wake of a bird across water, or the trail of a breeze through tall grass, Atlas passed, and the space it moved through was changed. And so were we. Our instruments become more sensitive, our questions become more refined, our sense of place becomes larger. Each traveler expands the edge of what we know and reminds us how much we still do not. And in that humility, in that stretch of thought, we grow. Just as stars cast their materials outward, just as systems let go of their fragments, so too do we release our thoughts, our wonder, our stories into the dark. Let yourself imagine now not just Atlas, but all the unknown travelers yet to come. Some will be noticed, some will not. Some will be large and bright, others small and nearly invisible. Some will come close, others will pass far beyond the orbit of Neptune. But each one in its passing carries with it the slow memory of the stars, the record of creation written in stone and silence. And when we look up, when we see that faint dot moving against the stars, we are seeing not just a rock, but a history, a motion, a connection. A reminder that space is not something outside us. It is something we are inside of, always moving, always changing, always remembering. There comes a point in every story where words fall away and what remains is silence, the kind that feels full, not empty. As we follow the journey of travelers like Atlas, we come to this silence, not because the story ends, but because it drifts beyond language. Out past the reach of telescopes, out past the numbers and charts, there is only the slow arc of motion across the dark, and in that modi. On there is meaning, not shouted, not even spoken, just felt. Imagine now the path of Atlas as it leaves us behind. It grows smaller in our skies, its brightness fading until it becomes invisible to every eye and every lens. Yet it continues, unchanged by our watching, unbothered by our questions. It is a stone among stars, a memory written in mass, in speed, in silence. Somewhere far from here, it will continue to drift for thousands of years. And perhaps someday another star's gravity will catch it. Or perhaps it will fall into the emptiness between all things, traveling endlessly with no destination. But even that journey has purpose, for Atlas and others like it are not trying to arrive. They are not bound by the need to stop. They are messengers, not of information, but of being. They remind us that everything moves, that nothing, not even the loneliest stone, is truly still. And they remind us that what we leave behind, trails of motion, moments of presence, can echo longer than we imagine. Our solar system, too, sends out its own memories. Every particle released by a comet, every grain pushed by the solar wind, becomes part of this cosmic sea. Voyager sails still, its faint signal whispering across light years. And long after its voice fades, its motion will remain. It too will become a traveler like Atlas. It will become part of the memory of the stars, not because it is intelligent, but because it exists, because it carries something from here out into the wider dark. And this, in the end, is what connects us. We do not need to be fast to matter. We do not need to be seen to have meaning. Like the travelers we watch, we move through space quietly, slowly, bound by gravity, shaped by light, guided by the unseen. Each of us carries a kind of memory, not only in our minds, but in our atoms, our blood, our breath. We are made of what the stars remember. We are made of what they released. Atlas may never return. Its arc through our solar system was brief, but in that briefness it left a mark. It reminded us that other stories exist, that the universe is not centered on us, that something can pass through our world without ever touching it and still change how we see everything. That is the gift of such travelers. They do not shout, they do not stay, but they awaken something. And once awakened, it does not easily sleep again. Look up now and consider the sky. Every point of light is a sun. Around each sun are planets. Around those planets may drift rocks, dust, comets. Some of these now or in the distant future may slip free, and some of them may come here, just as Atlas came, just as others will come. Each one bringing with it a quiet message that nothing is ever truly alone and nothing is ever truly lost. Even when forgotten by name, even when vanished from view, the travelers continue, and they carry us with them, not as passengers but as memory. Because to observe is to connect, to name is to remember, and to remember is to love. Atlas in the end was never truly ours. It belonged to the stars before it passed our sun. It will belong to the stars long after it has gone, but for one brief moment our paths crossed, and that crossing lives on in data, in diagrams, in poems, in dreams. It lives on in the feeling it left behind, a feeling of wonder, a feeling of scale, a feeling of motion that does not end. This is how the stars remember, through what passes between them, through what leaves and does not return, through what is seen once and then only imagined. And in this remembering we find our place, not above, not below, but among. Let your thoughts drift now with Atlas. Let them stretch across the dark, slow and soft. Let them carry nothing but presence. Let them fall silent. Let them continue. The universe is not rushing. It is waiting, waiting for the next traveler, the next memory, the next soft crossing of paths beneath a quiet sky.